Well, I think he's referring to specifically the outburst after the Leeds game. I think that made his position untenable. At a very basic level, he had been given an extraordinary level of backing at every level, but most notably by the new controlling shareholder, Jim Ratcliffe, who had not only said he was a great manager, but had more or less said you've got a job for 3 years. And Tim, I'm sure you agree with me that we all raised our eyebrows at that, because it's not really the way football works. It felt like a rather well-intentioned but bold statement. But I think if you've given that level of backing and then with a bit of criticism your manager turns on you and your management team, I think that would have infuriated Jim Ratcliffe, and I think it would have been an extremely quick decision to say, right, you're out, because the results, we all know that a 32% win record, that gets you in trouble at the bottom half of the Premier League, but at Manchester United it's totally wrong. So it was untenable to keep him, and I don't think it was planned. And I think that has serious implications for where the club is with Darren and for the rest of the season, because I don't think they were planning to fire Ruben Amorim over Christmas 2025. And now we're entering a transfer window. They're in an extremely interesting position shooting for 5th place, which probably gets you Champions League this year. And they're in a shootout with Chelsea for that position. That's my honest opinion, looking at the table. I think 3 clubs are ahead. Liverpool look like they're improving, but there's a real golden opportunity to make Champions League. And I think they've got to think about that really carefully right now, because missing that opportunity will have real implications in the summer for their ability to recruit coaches and players.
So it sounds like to me you're saying that just even having Darren Fletcher as an interim head coach, that sounds like a risk to you.
Well, I think it is a risk. And look, I'm a complete traditionalist, and I feel culturally it's right for Manchester United to embrace their traditions, their values, what made that club great. I believe passionately that a club has to have that heart and soul, but they also need to have relevant experience, particularly under pressure at the top end. And I think a club of Manchester United's stature probably wouldn't naturally make Darren Fletcher, from his current position, first-team manager on a permanent basis. I don't think they're suggesting they will. But if you're making him manager for the rest of the season, you are in effect putting a completely inexperienced manager up against other clubs who are fighting with you for Champions League football. And you're doing it because you want to have a shot, Vicky, at a much more broad talent pool in the summer of available managers out of contract. Let's call them A-list managers. Your Tuchels, your Pochettinos, your Ancelottis, your Glasners and your Iraolas in the Premier League. I can see why you'd want to have a look at those guys. But the problem is, if this season goes wrong from right now until the end, and you're not in the Champions League, 1, that may make you less attractive to those managers, and 2, you may not have the financial wherewithal to do it, because that's a 70, 80 million hole in your revenue, earnings and cash. So I think joining those dots, I'd be looking today and saying, is there a permanent option today that fits our culture, fits our playing style, we believe we can back to the hilt, and then think about going and getting them? Because I think about it, if it was a player, you don't take a chance on an auction in the summer if you can buy a player today. You're just giving other clubs the chance to compete with you. So I personally think they need to think very carefully about that.
Sounds like good advice. Let's talk through what happens when relationships break down. Tell us what happens behind the scenes, because it's reported that there was a meeting between Amorim and United's Director of Football, Jason Wilcox, and that's accelerated this parting. So what happens when these relationships turn sour?
Well, again, it sounds like a very technical football point, but it's actually a point about human relations, and it would be the case in any work environment that firstly, I think there are natural conflicts between the sporting director role and the head coach role. And that conflict centres on the fact that there are different priorities. Fundamentally, the head coach or manager, it's not really about title, it's about what you do. The head coach or manager is responsible ultimately for on-field results week in, week out, and gets judged and criticised and praised in equal measure for how that's going. The sporting director in the modern structure, and it's evolved significantly since I came into the game. 17 years ago, English football was still very much in the heyday of Sir Alex Ferguson. For over 100 years, we had the cult of managers. Managers ran football clubs, and they certainly ran everything that touched football in a football club, which included recruitment, getting rid of players, signing players, bringing players through. And the sporting director, the evolution of the sporting director, I think has changed that dynamic. I think that's a smart thing. I think it would be impossible for a modern day manager to oversee all of recruitment day in, day out. But it does mean that a key part of football success, the players joining and leaving a club, impacting on results week in, week out, has been taken away from the manager, and yet they're judged on that. And I think it's therefore human nature that when a manager is copping flack week after week for results, and he's thinking, they haven't got me the players I asked them to get. I didn't particularly like all the players I inherited when I got here. I think we need to strengthen in the window, and I'm being told we can't. I'm just gonna be honest to our fan base, our general public, that this isn't all on me. And the problem with that, Vicky, is I think it's very understandable how it happens, particularly when results are going very badly, particularly in high-profile clubs. The problem with that is once it happens, it's done. Because Tim and I know, you go into a training ground on a Monday morning, sporting directors' offices in every club I've been at is about 5 metres from the manager's office. They're supposed to work well together.
Yeah.
As the CEO, I will probably join them on a Monday. We'll have morning coffee, talk about the weekend, plan the week. If you walk into a meeting with someone who the previous day has said to the national media, you're doing a terrible job, you can't work anymore.
No.
So those relations breaking down are fatal. And so how do you avoid that? I think it's really important that when you, and this is really for Jim Ratcliffe, I think, really, this is, if I'm setting up a club as an owner or as a chief executive, I need to make sure that those relationships are balanced. The people in that relationship, the sporting director, the coach in particular, and the chief executive, they are all of comparable stature, quality, experience, and their crucial words, Vicky, mutual trust and respect. And I think if you have those relationships where maybe somebody comes in who wasn't there at the start, maybe a manager who wasn't hired by a sporting director, or the other way round, it can cause problems. Because when results don't go well, the tendency is for the blame game to creep in.
We'll talk at length, because I know you're training to become a sporting director. We'll talk a little bit later on about the role of a sporting director in the show. But is this setup that's going on behind the scenes likely to put off maybe incoming managers? Do you feel, is that something that you would worry about as a player, that actually everything that's going on at Manchester United might be off-putting for a really high calibre manager to come in and sort out?
Yes and no. I mean, Manchester United is still one of the best clubs in the world, so to get an opportunity to manage that club, I think a lot of people will walk there.
I agree.
But I think it's just clear, there's always egos involved, but if the owner and the CEO make a clear understanding where the clarity is, the transparency is, and who makes the decisions, we're all in it in the same boat here, and we all want the same results. And I think this is where there's a lot of friction there, and people wanting to be the boss. Ultimately, the manager's going to get the flack, but everybody has to understand they have to take some responsibility. Do
you just very briefly, do you find that hard as a player, though, if everything's going on and your manager's coming under flack, but actually there's a lot of situations that he's got to deal with as well? Is that hard as a player to sort of navigate? I
mean, the changing room is a funny place. We all read and see the interviews, and clearly if your manager is the first one to throw in the towel, that's going to rip through your changing room and the confidence. If your leader, your captain of your ship is gone, then clearly that's going to has a massive impact. So yes, the change room, clearly we are there to do a job. So 3 o'clock on a Saturday, whatever goes out the window, nobody cares if you had a bad night's sleep or your manager is not really behind you. You need to perform, and I think that's why we are the professionals as football players.
Man United, Vicky, is a very specific beast. It's the most high-profile club, I think, in the world, certainly in this country. And so these issues get picked at from the outside, and they're most vulnerable when results are miles off expectations. And I think that's been at the heart of what's gone wrong here. So I think next time round, it's absolutely crucial that this unity, this trust, this confidence is ingrained from day one. And it will help if Jason Wilcox and Jim and Omar Barada, you know, they're making their selection, and that person will know that everybody's there. Don't forget, you know, there was a very unexpected departure of Dan Ashworth before all this happened. And I think that destabilised the management structure because he was a highly experienced sporting director, and I think he might have handled things differently.
Yeah, someone you know well. Right, let's get to Manchester United, where Darren Fletcher has spoken for the first time as the interim head coach at Old Trafford. We can hear from him now.
Good evening, Darren.
Hi.
I mean, lovely to see you. It must be a huge honour to be asked to lead Manchester United, especially with your affinity to the club. What have the last 24 hours been like for you?
Yeah, it's surreal. As you say, it's an amazing honour, I think, to be able to lead a Manchester United team. I don't even think it's in my wildest dreams that was something that could potentially happen. I think even thinking about playing for the club and stuff like that, but to lead out a team is an amazing honour and something I'm really proud to do, not in the circumstances I expected it to happen. So that obviously is something that doesn't sit quite easy with me, but I've just to think of I've got a job to do and I've got to lead the team tomorrow and think of the great honour and pride in doing that.
What conversations have you had with Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, about how long you could be in charge for and maybe what that looks like going forward?
Yeah, so I've had conversation and it's the focus was on this game, and then we'll speak after the game. So it all happened very quickly on Monday morning. I had a game to prepare and a quick turnaround, training session to organise, speak to the players. So the focus has been, you know, because of the quick turnaround from the Leeds game, the focus has been on the Burnley match, and then we'll speak after the game, because I think it's important that we give the Burnley match the respect and focus it needs to prepare the team in such a short space of time.
Thank you.
Hi Darren. Obviously the natural question people will be asking is, do you want to stay on beyond? Obviously you've done so many jobs at this club. Dan's mentioned the affinities you have to. Would you like to try and earn the manager's job full time?
Honestly, it's not something I've thought about. I'm focusing on Burnley. I think that discussion's for after the game. As I said, there's been that much going on, it's all happened so quickly. All my concentration and efforts and thoughts are gone into Burnley, and I know that sounds like a generic answer, but it is what it is. Yeah.
What's the backroom team going to look like for you in this game, next game, whatever, however long it is?
Yeah, so obviously Travis Binion, who leads the under-21s, who I started my coaching career with in the academy, who I've known for the 5 years that I've been here. I'm actually couldn't ask for anybody better beside me than Travis. We've got such a close relationship, worked together for such a long time, somebody I respect, somebody who I've learned a lot from. His assistant Alan Wright, who newly joined the club as well, so the under-21 staff come and join me, and Johnny Evans has come in to help as well, so somebody who's great association with the club, recently played, knows the players, comfortable in the environment, and a familiar face for the group and the players as well. So those three will assist me for the game tomorrow.
Darren, a lot's been said about Manchester United over the last few months. What is your feeling of where this club is? You obviously are the epitome of Manchester United. Is one of your tasks to reconnect it with its roots in a way?
Well, for a game, it's to try and win a football match against Burnley. I think I've had a few different roles at the club, obviously coaching the under-18s just now. My focus and energy every time I've been at the club in whatever role is always to do the best for Manchester United and try and help the club, help the people that I'm working with, the players, the staff, and try and do everything I can to help Manchester United be successful. And as we say, everyone expects Manchester United to be on the top and winning. That's the standard. That's what we all have to try and achieve. That's the standard that's set for everyone at the club. And I just do my best in whatever role I'm in to help make that happen.
And in terms of the squad, obviously Ruben's had a lot of players missing. Are any of those players going to be back?
Well, I think Ruben alluded to it. I think Mason and Bruno, I think they were pushing to play against Leeds. The decision was that they weren't quite ready, so they've trained, so they should be back in the squad. But they'll be on managed minutes as well, and restricted minutes, because they've obviously just returned to training. So that's good news, especially the fact that obviously players who've been in good form. Mason Mount's form has been fantastic, and Bruno Fernandes, we don't have to speak about Bruno, he's a captain, he's a leader of the team, so to have them available for selection is obviously great news for me and for the players and for the club and for the fans.
Darren, what are the chances that Jack and Tyler Fletcher get full debuts against Burnley?
I'd be disclosing team information before the game, and I'm not going to do that and give anything away. Look, for me, they were in the training group on Monday because that was already arranged before I got there. They've been in the squad recently, but obviously we've got a couple of players back from injury, so we'll assess that tomorrow. We still have to assess a couple of players tomorrow as well because of the short turnaround from games. So they're in the periphery squad, but whether they make the match squad, I don't know yet. Well, that remains to be seen.
On a more serious note, what will your Manchester United look like?
Well, hopefully it looks like a Manchester United team that represents a bit of me. I think in terms of and what I know is Manchester United. So I hope it resembles a Manchester United team that fans can be proud of, that I can be proud of, and I'm sure they will because I believe in the players. I think we've got good players, and I think we've got players who care, and I think we've got a lot of quality in that team, and I hope to give them a platform to go out there to express themselves and to show that. And also to challenge them it's about them, it's not about me. It's their season, it's their careers, it's their opportunity. I'm here to help them. But they're the ones who have to cross that white line and go on the pitch and make it happen. So give them some responsibility to go and do that.
Interesting to hear there from Darren Fletcher. I mean, the fascinating one was he hasn't thought about it yet in terms of long term. Really, I don't know. But how about that for an interview? How did he do you feel?
Yeah, it's tricky for him. I mean, he's in charge for one game. Like clearly, the names that are being shown before are going to be in for the interim shout. So yeah, he might just start his own son tomorrow up front. If I was Darren Fletcher, but
yeah, not a bad idea.
No, it's tricky because clearly he's a legend from the club. He's had so much success under Sir Alex, so he knows what the fans demand and the way Manchester United should be playing. So he's trying to implement that in such a short space and short time. But yeah, he'll be attacking. He'll be trying to make the fans proud of what he's gonna tell the players to do tomorrow.
Yeah, and in terms of the players that are there listening to that now, how will they feel? They've got him in charge. He's solely focused on that next game against Burnley. He said that a fair few times. How would you be feeling in the dressing room as a player right now?
To be fair, they've got a lot of experience in that squad, and you need your experienced players to stand up, like the Brunos, who really have to lead the team and support Darren Fletcher as well. It's listen, it's never good that the manager goes, and it's a really unsettling time for everyone involved, and it's such a important time for the club. I think there's a lot of games there, and the decision has to be made quickly because it's never great where you've got people uncertain who's the manager, who's the leader, who's the captain of the ship, and I think that's what Manchester will be looking to appoint somebody in charge permanently or interim to the end of the season very quickly.
Just finally on Ruben Amorim, did it surprise you this happened? Because I remember you and I sat here when Ratcliffe gave him this vote of confidence, said actually we're going to give him the 3 years and he's going to have free rein to do whatever. Did this garner pace pretty quickly, and did it surprise you?
I think we were kind of smiling when that vote of confidence came, because you can't promise somebody 3 years. You can't give Liam Seymour 6.5 years. As long as the results are there, they have to, obviously, the results talk. And I think it's a similar thing there where Sir Ratcliffe obviously came out and said that he was going to support Amorim, but clearly there was so many issues behind the scenes. And I think ultimately it's a power struggle that happened. We don't know the exact details of it, but he was expecting to be a bit more like a manager, maybe more input in signings. And here we are, it's January window, and I think there must have been a big fallout on signings or people leaving, and I think that's really one of the big reasons I think why the relationship.
Leandro Trossard proved to be the perfect antidote to Arsenal's attacking frustrations following Mikel Arteta's candid remarks about Victor Gyökeres. Gyökeres may have struggled to truly impress since his summer arrival at Arsenal, but over the weekend there was finally a glimpse of what he is capable of. More importantly, Trossard showed exactly why he could be the key to unlocking the Swedish striker's full potential during Arsenal's hard-fought 2-1 victory over Wolves at the Emirates Stadium. The 31-year-old winger injected fresh energy into Mikel Arteta's side on Saturday night and helped breathe new life into the Gunners' attack. Shortly after replacing Gabriel Martinelli in the second half, Arsenal found the breakthrough. While Trossard did not directly contribute to either the opening goal or the dramatic stoppage time winner, his influence on the game was undeniable. Trossard took control of proceedings, dictating the tempo and pulling the strings down the left flank. Time and again, he dismantled Wolves' compact defensive setup, releasing Miles Lewis-Skelly into space, picking out Declan Rice on the edge of the box, and crucially, feeding Gyökeres with intelligent, well-timed passes. Operating as a creative hub, the Belgian showcased his playmaking qualities, delivering sharp, purposeful distribution. His introduction completely shifted the momentum of the match, and for the first time in weeks, Arsenal's $64 million striker briefly looked like a genuine threat. Before Trossard's arrival, Gyökeres endured a frustrating and ineffective outing in attack. In fact, the Belgian was the only player to carve out a clear-cut opportunity for the 27-year-old forward, slipping a simple yet incisive ball in behind the Wolves' backline. Gyökeres controlled the pass, beat his defender, and aimed for the far post. Wolves goalkeeper Sam Johnstone was beaten, but the Swedish striker saw his effort agonizingly drift just wide. If Arteta truly wants to get the best out of Gyökeres, then granting Trossard a more prominent role in the starting 11th could be the solution. Speaking to TNT Sports after the win, the Arsenal manager openly addressed the challenges facing his marquee signing. "It's a collaboration between the two," Arteta explained. "He was in some really good positions, but the ball didn't arrive quickly enough, accurately enough, or with the precision a number 9 needs to score." But his commitment and intention were there, and we have to keep pushing. Arteta was equally vocal in defending Gyökeres prior to the match, urging patience with the striker's adaptation to English football. "There was huge expectation because we were signing a proven goal scorer, probably with the best statistics in Europe," Arteta said. "But he's coming into a different league, the most demanding league in the world. What happens if he doesn't score in 5 or 6 games? That was the only question I asked him. How are you going to react if you don't score in 5 or 6 matches? Can you handle that? And what about the next 100 games? That's what people need to see. The sample size is still very small, so leave him alone. Let him do what he does best. Support him, and I'm convinced things will come good." That message from Arteta resonated beyond the Emirates. In the days following the Wolves' victory, the debate around Gyökeres intensified among pundits, supporters, and former players. While some questioned whether Arsenal's record signing is truly suited to the Premier League's pace and physicality, others pointed to the structural issues around him rather than the striker himself. Much of the post-match analysis focused on Arsenal's chance creation and balance in the final third. The Wolves game highlighted a recurring theme this season. Gyökeres often makes the right movements, but the service into dangerous areas has been inconsistent. When Trossard entered the match, that problem briefly disappeared. Arsenal suddenly looked more fluid, more unpredictable, and far better equipped to supply a traditional number 9. Former players speaking on television and radio were quick to note the contrast. With Trossard drifting inside and linking play, Arsenal's attacking shape became more compact, allowing Gyökeres to stay higher up the pitch and occupy central defenders. That, in turn, created space for midfield runners like Rice and Ødegaard to arrive late in the box. It was a glimpse of an attacking formula that Arsenal have rarely sustained this season. The reaction from supporters has been equally divided. While frustration with Gyökeres' goal return remains, there is growing appreciation for his work rate, physical presence, and willingness to press from the front. Many fans now see Trossard as the missing connector, the player who can translate Gyökeres' movement into genuine scoring opportunities. Internally, Arteta faces an important decision. Persisting with a front line that isolates Gyökeres risks damaging the striker's confidence, especially with tougher fixtures on the horizon. At the same time, promoting Trossard to a regular starting role could mean reshuffling wide positions and reducing Martinelli's minutes, a bold call that would not come without consequences. Yet football at the highest level often comes down to chemistry rather than reputation. The Wolves match suggested that Arsenal's most expensive signing may not need drastic changes to his own game, but rather the right supporting cast around him. If Arteta embraces that idea, Gyökeres's slow start could soon be remembered as nothing more than a difficult adjustment period. For now, the pressure remains. Goals will ultimately define Gyökeres's Arsenal career, and patience in North London is never unlimited. But with Trossard offering clarity, creativity, and calm in possession, Arsenal may finally have found the key to unlocking their striker and turning promise into consistent production.